How much time do you spend cheering yourself on and allowing yourself the space to learn, even if you mess up along the way? Have you ever felt held back by self-doubt, whether it's speaking up in a meeting or connecting with others or simply just believing in your own worth? Well, you're not alone. Welcome to the Crazy Confidence Coach podcast. I'm Heather Edwards, Master Certified Life Coach, and my goal is to empower you to step into your most authentic, confident self. Here, you're going to discover practical strategies and powerful insights to help you improve your communication, deepen those relationships, and elevate your self-esteem. And each week, I'm going to guide you through some actionable tips and mindset shifts that are specifically designed to help you break free from fear, show up boldly in every area of your life, and build crazy confidence. Are you ready to stop hiding in the shadows, playing small, and avoiding the spotlight? Grab your favorite pen and a notebook, and let's get to it. What thoughts do you have about you? And when you make a mistake or when you're moving through your day, would you say you're a cheerleader, a teacher, or are you judgmental and mean to yourself? You may not be aware of your inner critic all the time, which we all have, by the way, but what I want you to do is figure out how much floor time are you giving to that version of yourself, the one that's the critic and that mean girl or that mean guy. What is the critic floor time like? Is the critic and the judgmental side of you super big and super a part of your day? Or how much time do you spend cheering yourself on and allowing yourself the space to learn, even if you mess up along the way? Why does it matter? If you want to build more confidence, it matters. It matters a ton. You have somewhere between 6,000 and 60,000 thoughts a day. And yes, I researched this and there's just discrepancy. So go with it. That's just too many thoughts in a day for you to pay attention to every single one of your thoughts. But you can begin to pay attention and be more aware to your default thoughts about yourself and the way you think about other people. And why does it matter the way you think about other people? What you think about other people is often a reflection of how you think about yourself. This isn't always true. Sometimes judgment comes from people not being like you. There are lots of different ways to break that down. But in general, your awareness needs to come to what's your general way of thinking? When you start becoming more aware of your thoughts and find you're spending more time in negative thought patterns and you're just being more judgmental and mean to yourself and maybe mean to others, it's time to do some thought work. It's time to engage in some mental fitness. How do you do thought work and what the heck is mental fitness and how do you do it? Well, you have to intentionally work on what thoughts you're choosing to have. That requires you getting more understanding of what your thoughts actually are. And the quickest way I know how to do this is to, one, just start being more aware when you're in quiet time, in the car, at your desk for a few minutes, or just by yourself for a minute when you're laying down to bed. What were your thoughts primarily through the day? But a great way to do this is to spend 3 to 5 minutes either in the morning or at the end of your day and just dump all the thoughts that you can think about onto paper. Now, the reason I think it's important to write them out or type them out is so you can actually observe them objectively after they're all written out. You don't have to put every single thought you have in a day. Like I said, you're having 6,000 to 60,000. It's not going to happen. But if you set a timer, spend time writing out all your thoughts about the day, about you, about what happened, about what's going on, you will see a pattern emerge. And once you see that and the way you're thinking about things, you might find that there are patterns that emerge that you're just not aware of. Then you're going to pick 1 or 2 things in that dump, that brain dump, the thought dump, and start to work on them. You're going to think about the fact that if you actually do this and you pick 1 or 2 things a week, there are 52 weeks in the year. And if you pick one thing each week to work on, you would be a completely different individual by the end of the year. So think if you pick 2 a week to work on, you would have over 100 thoughts that you've really thought through that you're choosing to have or choosing to change, and you will become fundamentally a different person because you are choosing to be a person who's choosing their thoughts. Your thoughts actually create what you're feeling. Your feelings create what kind of actions that you take in life, and then your actions are actually going to give you what kind of results that you have in the world. It all becomes this pattern of behavior based on your thoughts. That's why it's so important. To do that thought work, what you're going to do is you're going to consider reframing thoughts you don't like or the ways of thinking that you want to change. As you reframe them, you begin to see that you act differently because you're thinking differently. This can be super, super easy, and it can be simple for small things, and it can be more difficult when you deal with bigger things or bigger belief systems that you have and thoughts that you've had for years and years and years that you've never questioned. When I work with clients, what I end up doing is I go through a process and we evaluate negative thought patterns to see if they're true, to see if they're borrowed, to see if they're outdated, to see if you still want them. Do you want them at all? Sometimes it's easy and sometimes it's difficult, but just making that one decision sometimes about the way you think about something can change what and how you think about so many different things, and it can completely change your world. If your negative thoughts are about something more difficult to change, we work on creating what we call ladder thoughts. And those ladder thoughts, they just bridge the gap between what you think right now and what you want to think, because oftentimes it's not an easy task to get from what you want to think to what you have been thinking for years and years and years. And a ladder thought is simply something that is true currently that your brain can help connect to the thought or the goal that you currently don't believe. Sounds complicated, but it can be very simple and it can change your life overnight. There can be something that you've never thought through that you simply, by changing a thought, it can change how you function in your world. It can change how you show up to relationships. It can change how you function at work. It can change just who you are and your personality. There are so many ways that working on your thoughts and being mentally more strong and having a stronger mental fitness can benefit you. It is amazing what happens when you start to really go on this journey. So if you're on a journey to become more confident and increase your self-esteem, you have to start being mindful of your thoughts. You have to manage your thoughts and just practice mental fitness. Practice working out your thought muscles, repeated acknowledgement for your efforts, and increasing your cheerleader activity in your brain. Your brain will actually go to work for you when you tell it you're a superstar, but it will also go to work to prove you're a loser if you tell it that as well. You get to choose who you want to be. So I ask you, who do you want to be? What thoughts do you know that you need to work on? Are there thoughts that you have about you that you borrow from a friend, a spouse, a parent, a teacher? I can tell you that when I was in middle school, I had this math teacher. I was really good at math. I was starting to get involved in competitions with math, and I could do the work in math in my algebra class where I could just have the answer. I wouldn't show my work. And I had a teacher who would fail you if you didn't show your work, which I understand that now, but it really hit my self-esteem. And he was the type of teacher that if he just would kind of joke in a very crass way. And one day I answered a question, I answered it wrong. And he's like, "What are you doing back there? Picking your nose?" And from that moment on, it just crushed my soul. It crushed my spirit. I was a middle school kid and it embarrassed me. I clearly wasn't picking my nose, but he just absolutely crushed me. And after that, I decided I was horrible at math because I just kind of got silent. I stopped answering questions. I stopped raising my hand. And when I look back on my belief about myself, I was kind of borrowing a belief that he had about me. For whatever reason, he had some things that he pushed on me that were just not real. So I borrowed that belief because I believed that's what he had of me, and it carried throughout my life until I started doing work on myself. What I want for you is for you not to borrow the belief of other people, unless, of course, you want to borrow the belief. Sometimes borrow belief is great because it can motivate us or inspire us. But you have to choose your thoughts carefully and choose what you believe from others carefully. You'll find that simple practice of choosing carefully will help you increase your self-esteem, and it will help your confidence exponentially. When you identify a thought pattern that is difficult for you to overcome, sign up for a coaching, because let me tell you, once you do overcome these really difficult thought patterns, it will change so much about you. When you identify a thought pattern that is difficult for you and you can't overcome it on your own, just sign up for coaching and let's get to the bottom of it. You'll be shocked at what 1 or 2 negative thought patterns are doing to stop you in your tracks in your everyday life. Start working on your thought patterns. Do just a little bit of work. It doesn't take but 3 to 5 minutes a day to work on negative thought patterns, reshaping and reframing thought patterns, and doing a little mental fitness, just like you would do your physical fitness, to make your overall belief systems about yourself and about the world around you, including friends, family, spouse, your work, whatever, become more of a cheerleader reality instead of that judgmental, mean reality. I hope that you enjoy doing this process yourself, because it can be really fun to see where you were and where you are going. I say just get a journal and start doing it in a journal, because you'll enjoy going back to see where you were at one time and where you've come in a year. Thank you so much for hanging out with me today. It has been a blast. I would love for you to do me a huge favor and either go leave a rating or a review. And if you really love the podcast or you've learned anything at all, please pass it on to a friend or a family member that might enjoy the podcast as well. That's how I grow, and that's how I'm able to continue bringing you content. If you are interested in coaching, just go to thecrazyconfidencecoach.com. You can sign up for a free discovery call there. Thank you so much for being here. I hope to see you next Tuesday so we can build our crazy confidence together. Love you big.